There we go. Okay, I got 66% on this bad boy. I was like about 60.
That's a lot of cameras.
I know. Well, it's both
kind
of our
of doubling
gear.
up today.
We're doubling
That's
up.
like 10 toppling up.
Yeah.
But what, I mean, sorry, there's 7?
I personally brought 10, counting my cell phone.
I have 5 angles, I think.
But you know, the batteries run out; they get overheated. You know, you
Gotcha.
gotta have backups and stuff.
Do they automatically sync to each other somehow, or do you
No,
just
you
use the good old fashioned
cam editor.
like
Yeah,
Sync them up and post.
yeah?
get up to post.
So in a second, we'll make sure it's okay to record, and we'll get your name and the spelling of your name. And think of maybe in the meantime, think of something that you want to talk about, a knowledge claim that you think is true, and
Camera guy got.
that way,
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've
just
got.
ask questions
It looks slightly
that
different.
explore how you arrived at your conclusion
The bond,
and what supports your confidence that it's true.
maybe like
Oh, this is,
I've got
This is you got the one.
I've got this one, I think.
Oh, this is the Ace Pro. All right, I think I'm recording.
Cool.
At least some of them are recording, and that's good enough. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Thank you for stopping.
Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure.
Whiteboard here to take notes. And what was your name?
Michael.
Michael. Is that the normal spelling?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to write that down so I don't forget it. Michael. And is there a truth-based claim about the world that we share that is meaningful to you that you would like to talk about, or would you like to draw from the can of words?
Let me draw from the can. I've been mulling on this.
That's
a little
always
bit.
fun. People can't resist the can.
Yeah, let's find out.
And you don't have to take the first word. You could throw it back in and draw another
Oh,
one.
that's very kind of you.
You find one that sparks some sort of a
Yeah.
thought in your head, like, oh yeah, I was thinking about this the other day.
Yeah, no, I have a bazillion. It's just like, you ask me, oh, what's this claim and floating around experience? So I see. It's these kinds of words. Let me see. One more. Yeah, okay, that's going to be pretty abstract.
What was the second one?
Some of them are very abstract. Value, meaning, truth,
Morality.
morality.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so these are not good. This is the wrong types of how I think. Yeah, that's totally okay.
Well,
God.
a claim, a truth claim about it's true for everyone and not just true for you. Because
True for everyone. Okay.
We're playing, everyone. Be on
what do you think?
and
Yeah.
so
I these guys pass.
Yes, good idea. Let's let them pass this. We want to hear what you're saying.
do your thing.
I want to hear what I'm saying in my own mind too.
Perfect.
While you're thinking, I'm Cosmo, by the way.
Hi, Cosmo.
I haven't
Nice
introduced
to meet
myself.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, Michael.
Yeah. So I like a bunch kind of bounce around, but
Something-
maybe the
Something that if you found out that it wasn't true, it would probably affect how you live your life going forward.
okay.
That kind of thing. Something
I
that
think that one's okay. All right. Well,
gives
I have
meaning
one
to
that's
your life or that shapes the way that you behave.
okay. Well, for that, yeah, I have.
For
I think
instance,
that's pretty
people
clearly.
that believe in feng shui will arrange their furniture in a certain way because they think it has a certain effect. Or they'll burn incense or what.
Oh, I see.
You know,
I see. Yeah.
They
yeah.
do certain things because of the belief.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So, I guess for me, the main thing that comes to mind there is, I think that people are driven by their relationship to death in ways that they don't have a lot of conscious awareness of. A lot of their mental structures are based on trying to avoid recognizing that fact. That includes me. Like it's a tricky thing, but that a lot of ability to focus clearly on the world and on what matters to us gets confused because of this constraint. There's a need to not look too clearly at that.
Okay, well, my next task is supposed to get you to define relevant terms in the claim, but all your terms are people and death, and I think those are pretty I mean, you could try to define death if you would like.
Well, I mean, I think so. So I've thought about this quite a bit. When I reference death, like there's an intuitive sense of what it means for, like,
What does
if
it mean
it
to
doesn't
you?
cash out in a very practical way of,
What does death mean to you then?
well, I relate this. I mean, so there's a general principle I try to rely on, which is that if it doesn't cash out in the thing that your intuition says yes to, then you've confused yourself with thoughts. So there's a practical thing, which is it's that which has taken away my ancestors, the thing that ends the life. But to be a little more formal about it,
It removes people from our shared experience. Is that what you're trying to say?
well, I mean, planes do that too, right? I mean, that's not death.
Okay, but permanently though.
Yeah, in some kind of intuitive.
But I guess someone could move away permanently too, and
Right.
that would still
Exactly. So there's,
irrevocably.
Well, I don't, it's
Yeah.
hard to tell. I mean, I
So-
don't think it's that serious, but like,
yeah. So like there are ways to play with definitional games. The one that I like, the line of thinking I like best is that death is what it feels like to be inside of a life cycle and encounter natural selection.
Interesting. Okay, I think my next task is to gauge your the degree of confidence that you have in this claim. And typically we use like a scale of 0 to 100, but if you're not comfortable with that, we can use some sort of other scale.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who like to play this game. I think.
And I wrote down for your claim here, death prevents life. Does that sound like a fair approximation of what you said, or would you like to
Death.
rephrase that for me?
Avoidance of death creates unclarity or
Removes
confusion.
clarity.
Yeah. Demands like avoidance of death requires confusion
Avoidance of death.
or creates it. It really does. It create it. It
Confusion.
creates confusion.
Interesting. See,
Yeah,
that's-
avoidance of awareness of death creates confusion.
Can you hand me a,
Feel free to pick any
There's
of
more here.
back there.
of course, brand new pants.
Ah, shoot.
Now they have character.
They're dry erase markers. It should wash out.
Yeah.
So, can you say that again?
Sure.
Avoiding.
Avoidance of awareness of death
Avoidance of the awareness of death.
creates confusion.
Okay, and your confidence level in this claim? You can think about it for a second.
%85%.
85%.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say if I were to ask you to categorize the kinds of things that give you doubt, that keep you from being at 100%? What gives
Sure.
you doubt?
Sure. So,
What's that 15%?
sure. So that 15%, there's kind of one of the biggest ones is the all this business about the way that wisdom traditions throughout the world keep orienting to, like, wisdom traditions and culture keep reinventing this thing about variations of death brings meaning to life, death is our greatest teacher, all that kind of stuff. And it seems like there are like lots and lots of variations on this theme. Like in Christianity, there's a common theme of death is actually your judgment, but also your liberation. And in this case, it's not like it wouldn't actually be the avoidance of awareness of death that is creating confusion. It's actually that like other factors create confusion, and death is just part of the world that we're in. So I could see it just being complicating factors, like human beings are evolutionary spaghetti code. That the way that we let me see. So let's see if I can be a lot more grounded here.
Take your time.
Like when people get when people get confused in intimate relationships about like I know I shouldn't be angry in this way. I care about this person, but I'm still going berserk here. It's not clear that that is immediately tied to something having to do with the avoidance of awareness of their own mortality. You can make an argument, but the immediate thing is probably something we share with chimpanzees, which can't actually reflect on their own mortality as far as we know. So there's stuff like that that makes me think some of the things that I observe that look to me like it's connected back to mortality might be due to things that are much more basic than that. So that's like some of the doubt that I have in that cluster.
Is there any kind of a test that could be performed to determine, the source, whether that is the source of a particular,
Sure.
emotion or
Yeah, I mean, one way to look at
Activity,
it would be to see when somebody gets a terminal diagnosis or faces the loss of a loved one.
But like Fatata Joyce is like
Like a lot of the tone of my orientation
like,
contact with when you look at what happens to somebody when they're in the midst of a lot of grief. That grief is something like, sorry, you have 3 months to live, or say a spouse or a child or something. There's this kind of clarity that comes through that has them recognizing a lot of nonsense that they've been believing in and getting focused on.
But that's reminds me of like what
So, like one way to look at it, you can see
I kept doing this
patterns in what people get clear on and what they don't. When encountering that kind of loss. Because those are cases where death becomes inevitable to look at. You can't avoid it. It's part of the nature of the situation. So when you can't avoid it anymore, what becomes clear and what remains foggy?
I see. Comparing it to all the other times when you're not forced to look at it is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You can
That's the
see.
first thing that comes to mind, yeah.
Interesting. And is there anything that could reduce your confidence in the claim?
something going on.
Yeah.
Is there anything you could learn or find out, or anything that could?
Good question. I
So
haven't
you
thought
have
of
some
it.
like, what was the reason to go beyond? I was having like, what?
Thank you.
Is there any way to disconfirm this claim?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm just trying to reflect on it.
Yeah, take your time. What would it look like? See, that's the thing, is you've never thought about it, and neither have I. So we're gonna sit here and think about it and see if there is a way. That's kind of the idea.
But this is like nobody really like. So I have to figure out.
So I don't know what it would take to completely disconfirm the idea. Like it's not a tidy thing like that. It's not like
I know.
I don't know a specific experiment. I could imagine
Baron had to take me to the ER on Friday.
if
So you were in the ER and like I was in the ER.
So,
Like
there are some fairly specific things that like there's some patterns about the way that people get involved in politics, for instance. That when I just look at the structure about it to go into the concept,
like
they look at the structure of how people get really into the side.
I know. And so
Or
we had a good
really
Joe
get into like yes, these people are right, and these people are wrong, or whatever it is. What I see there is a lot of scattering of attention that is built on, this as I can tell, this avoidance of awareness of their mortality and the nature of death.
I had originally thought
And like even if they're talking about death, it's like a mental icon. If to me, it's very obvious that there's a confusion what's involved in there. The things that they're doing usually can't change the systems that they're screaming about. They're actually participating in something that makes the thing that they're supposedly complaining about worse. Not every time, but often enough to be notable. If I could see that these sort of confrontations with like their own mortality, their terminal diagnoses, loss of a loved one, that end like the becoming paraplegic kind of something similar to, like there's a vividness to this experience that if that didn't create clarity in
Clarity.
these situations.
Right.
But something else did, like, oh, it turns out that this reason for this is because of some sort of like having cultivated loving kindness enough, and if they cultivate loving kindness, it turns out this actually loosens up.
Yeah, I had thought about being in the sun.
That to me would be some evidence against what I'm talking about.
So it sounds like you do have ways to both increase and decrease your confidence level. That's a good thing, I think. Is there any question that you think I ought to ask that I haven't asked yet? Would be
Some of them I haven't seen.
Okay.
what would be a question you would ask me if I were talking about this? Maybe
Hi.
it's okay if you can't come up with one.
Well, I mean, I come from
Trying to make you do my homework.
it's cool. Like I would be inclined to ask questions like, what's important to you about this?
That's very good. So, why is this a meaningful claim to you? And why does this matter? How does this affect your life? If you found out that it wasn't true, what would change about the way you live your life?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Good question. Feeding my question back to my face.
It's just like during JFK.
You asked for
I
it.
literally asked for it. Only without a question mark.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I asked you to ask for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Um,
to go there, you know, it's like it's nice, it's sunny. But like it used to be that when we were in Manhattan, nice little place, we could mix it all up. So anyway, but I kind of. Do you see?
it would change something really. So one of the reasons I care about this so much is that I think that this ties together a lot of pieces about what humanity cares about.
That's what makes it meaningful.
Yeah,
The explanatory power.
not the explanatory power.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's nice. It's a convenient thought structure, but that's not the point. The point is that there's a lot of ways that
Give me this sentence.
than it actually happens. Even when it's screaming about kindness, it's often doing so in a cruel way and enacts things that increase pain. Not always. Sometimes there's some real good that happens, but there are ways that humanity works on relatively small scales, but also huge ones, that are predictably suffering generating in ways that we know and that we still have difficulty stopping. And my impression is that this is because we collectively don't know how to
What that boat incident at Jeff?
come together in a recognition of what we collectively cherish, what collectively matters to us. It seems to me that one of the most unifying nodes about this is the fact that we are all mortal. And the fact that everyone and everything we love and cherish will be destroyed. And that is not something that we have collectively called refug or look at clearly together.
No, bro.
Whether you're a king or a lowly street sweeper, sooner or later you're gonna dance with the reaper.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk
So
about
if
what
it turned out that doesn't, that isn't, if the avoidance, but that's not a center of confusion and scattering and lack of clarity for humanity, it becomes much less clear to me what doing widespread good is.
Interesting.
Or what kinds of things might act as a unifying call for humanity. And then it also reflects on me personally. Like in that, I feel sort of like the experience. What does it mean to be ready for that? And if there's little to no reliable relationship between clarity of awareness of death and the clarity of the rest of your life, then it's not clear to me what it means to prepare for that experience.
Because
That makes a lot of difference for how I live my life and how I look at the coming decades.
based on the perspective that it gives you, is that what you're saying? The change in perspective from your normal avoidance of thinking about the human condition to being forced to think about it.
Yeah, it sort of makes me wonder. It would make me wonder whether, in a way, it would make me wonder whether avoiding thinking
That's
about death
not
is
what
actually
Oscar was saying, but Oscar was being
A net good?
if it would be on net a good thing to avoid recognizing your own mortality. It sounds kind of crazy to me from where I am, but it would become a lot more plausible if I got a significant update that what I'm looking at is false.
It's very interesting. I neglected to write down your confidence level at the beginning. What was it? 85. I'm just going to write that down just to make it official. And so, has any of these thoughts affected this confidence level at all? Are you still at 85?
Yeah, like these are things that are pretty
You've-
solid.
It sounds like you've thought about it a lot, and so these aren't new territory for you to explore mentally. So you probably came to the 85 before you even sat down, right?
I didn't have a percentage on it.
Well, not in the number, but like in general.
Yeah, I
Degree
have a
of
lot of friends who
confidence.
are really into assigning confidence levels to beliefs, and I find it annoying.
Ah,
So I
well, you know, there's also a spectrum option. You can say strongly disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree.
yeah.
If you don't like
The
numbers.
thing that feels intuitive to me is something like, how much would I trust this claim if I had to trust it in a situation?
It's a very good question.
That feels more visceral.
How reliable is this?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're trying to explore here. Is whether, and it sounds like you've
And Oscar was
You've-
beautiful occasionally, to be honest.
employed methods
Then it-
that you find reliable and that you've explored them fairly thoroughly in the past on this topic. So
I tried.
it sounds
My
like
sense of it was that
you haven't had
he was creating a narrative that actually was
any lack of opportunity to explore your reasoning on this. But it's good to do it once again. I'm sure it's certainly with me, so I learn what you think.
in that moment. It's
Part of it because everybody thinks differently.
And also, for me, it's neat to trace this stuff and just find out, are there any gaps? Are there any little spots? And I encountered a few here. It was like neat to see.
We're not supposed to do any sort of messaging during these interviews, but I'm just curious if you've ever heard of a philosopher named Peter Vesselzapfa. You might want to. He's Swedish, yeah, or Norwegian. Sorry, he's a Norwegian philosopher. You should maybe look him up. He talks a lot about this subject. But you know, that's for another day. Peter Zappa.
That's exactly what you're.
For anybody who wants to learn more about this subject, he talks about about how the human condition such that we're not equipped to handle the fact that the universe isn't willing to answer our need for justice and goodness and all these other things. So we have basically, as humans, we spend all of our time trying not to think about it. Basically, we use 4 basic mechanisms: distraction. Oh look, a butterfly.
I tend to have a more positive view of that kind of philosophy. It's something more like, I think we fear in that kind of universe. So we're looking at it rather than recognizing that we are the part of the universe that is doing that.
So you think avoiding being cognizant of the human condition gets in the way of that caring that you're talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to add?
This has been a neat little surprise play to do.
Well, this is my first one, so I know it probably didn't go perfectly, but hope you had a good time. I definitely had a good time learning.
Yeah, it was really cool to get to chat with you, and I enjoy your curiosity the way that you explore it.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Michael. And I don't know what he's going to do, but it's definitely going to go up on my channel. Because I don't have any videos yet, so except for one, which is Street Epistemology. So, all right, thank you very much for being my first interview subject.
Yeah,
Also known as an interlocutor. All right.
You've been wanting to say that all day, haven't you?
Okay.
that was great.
We can wrap it up now if you like. That was awesome.
Nice.
So you had some very well thought out thoughts that you were able to share, and I didn't have to actually ask a lot of very penetrating questions because you've thought about it in a penetrating way already.
That does seem to be what this mind does. Yep. That's my shtick.
Cool. Hopefully, it generated some things to think about.
I did. Like the things about like how would I increase or decrease my grades?
Yeah.
I don't explicitly think in those terms very often. I think about how would I check or is this word, but thinking specifically in terms of how would I hunt something that would show me I'm wrong. Like it totally makes sense. It's a type of thought that I've had before, but it's not something I focused on in this context. So that's neat to see.
Yeah. It's important to be able to tell how you could be wrong if you're 85% confident.
You're not going to find it there.
Interesting.
Reality.
That's great.
Well, I think
I like that. I like that a lot.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
First interview down.
I kind of do, but I also kind of want to keep walking.
Yeah, it's getting kind of cold. You might want to warm your body up by moving.
Makes sense.
Are you guys gonna be around here often? Or?
Yeah, we're gonna be.
Next week or so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well maybe
Can't let you walk off with that, can I?
come back around.
Yeah, we might be at a different park on different days. Don't know yet.
Okay. Yeah. Are you guys based here or?
I am.
Okay.
I live in the Richmond district.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
I'm hosting him while he's doing a cross country tour,
Oh, fun.
teaching people this method.
Yeah. Cool.
Socratic
Setup you
questioning.
got for the backpack holding all the different equipment.
That's mine.
Yeah, that's really cool.
The idea is
Good
that
idea where you might be able to walk.
oh yeah, I learned it from the West Wing and the Big Bang Theory. It's called the walking talk. It makes it more interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and you'd have cameras kind of sticking out of the backpack. Yeah.
Have one time,
Yeah.
every angle.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
And the QR code, that'll take in my channel. And just letting what channel it will show. Yeah.
Down to terminology and
Oh, yeah, I guess I get it. So that they,
it'll probably be a little while before you go up.
So,
I see red lights on the X4 and the Ace Pro at least. Oh yeah, and the 2 Go's are still going as well. I don't know about the 1RS, but we'll find out.
so how did that go for you?
I thought it went pretty well. I don't know if I came up with really good questions, but just the standard questions. I don't know that they were really geared towards the claim, but just the standard sort of questions. But maybe that's good enough to get them talking, and then they say what they think. You know. He seemed to
It's kind
have
of a good frame you can use to come back to if you need to. So he was 85% confident.
Did I miss anything, like steps wise?
Well,
Like, what would you have done that I didn't do?
I may have and I may have missed you asking this. So he's 85% confident that that the avoidance of the awareness of death causes confusion.
Yes.
So I may have asked what causes clarity. What is the most impactful step that somebody could actually take that would get us closer to clarity, and why is that a good step?
And is there any way to get there without being given a terminal diagnosis? Maybe.
Yeah.
Or becoming paralyzed.
Well, he said that there was a test, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember what the test was?
Basically, just to do with you know, the clarity that would come,
But I also don't.
whether it was genuine clarity. I think I'll have to review it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was trying to think about my next question.
Yeah. This is completely mystery.
Yeah.
But the main question, like, that I may have asked is,
I think it had to do with the fact that, when you get this sort of reminder of your mortality, it can give you the clarity necessary to realize that a lot of the things that you were using to ignore your mortality are just that. They're mechanisms for avoiding thinking about something rather than something that's good in its own right, or necessarily important in its own right. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's just a tool for, like, do I watch TV because I like TV, or do I watch it to avoid thinking about death? That kind of thing.
so what one could ask, why is that a good test?
Why is that a good test? Okay.
But I thought that you did
I know.
fantastic. Like,
I've never.
but
my primary setting is
kind of staying focused on those
some sort of.
basic questions that
Wasn't really a belief claim exactly. I mean, it was because it's not necessarily true, but I think
Done blood work and nothing.
generally
For
acknowledge that,
God.
the approach of your death brings a certain amount of clarity
No, that's why.
to your life. I mean, how could it not, really? I mean, that's my thinking anyway, but maybe that's
There's something.
a good reason to explore the claim, because intuition says that that's the case, but is it really true? Maybe it's a false clarity. Maybe it's the illusion of clarity.
how do we measure the clarity?
Maybe this new focus is just another kind of version of the old focus. It's focusing on something different. It's not clarity at all, but rather a new kind of blinder. You know what I mean? It's not opening your eyes, but just taking your eyes off of one thing and putting it on another. I don't know.
Now that you've thought about it a bit, are there any questions that come up that you wish you would have asked?
I guess because it wasn't so much of a belief, like a supernatural belief claim, that I didn't know really how to question, such a sort of base claim about life, one that I think is one that I personally think is probably true, and one that I think most people probably think is true. That makes it, I think, a little more difficult to think of reasons why it might not be true. Whereas with something like fairies or ghosts, it's a lot easier to come up with reasons why it might not be true, because some people believe in fairies, for instance, in Scandinavia, and some people in other parts of the world don't. So,
You find it easier to explore claims that you don't agree with?
claims where there's an outsider, I don't know who the outsider to that belief is. Like, who thinks that being made aware of your mortality, doesn't give you clarity? Like, or I guess his claim was the opposite: is avoiding thinking about death creates confusion, which is kind of not exactly the same thing as
Avoiding the awareness.
being made aware of it. Providing clarity is the opposite of that, but that's not the claim he was making necessarily. It's not necessarily the same thing. I think. Oh, it's starting to cool down now, huh?
Yeah, I'm good too.
Shades come over.
Yep.
You want to wrap it up?
Sure. Yeah, that was great.
We got an interview in each. That was good for one day. And we can review the footage and see how to re-gear for the next time,
Learn from it.
Learn from
Cool.
those two.
Sweet.
And get some
That was good
burritos.
too.
Yeah.
Let's get some burritos.
We're doing as much.
Distracting. I just wanted to know which one.